Hey guys, my name is Jonathan Stout. This is Leave the Light On. Today's guest, we have someone who I've been trying to get on the podcast for a long time, probably around 6 months we first talked about it. But his name is Sooner, and to most of you, you will probably know him as you've seen him around. You've seen him around Twitter. You've seen him around live streams. You've seen him around on content. But I just wanted to pick his head about a lot of things that's going on, especially as well as just what's going on with content. I haven't done a Leave the Light On episode in a while, so I thought this would be a nice little introduction back. But everyone, this is Sooner. Sooner, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It as you were saying that it's been 6 months that we've been talking about this. In the back of my head, I was like, no, there's no way it's actually been 6 months. And then I thought, yeah, it's actually been 6 freaking months.
Which I'm really like, I always get on myself about it because I'm like, I need to schedule, but I always like, there's always something else. And I'm very, very happy I waited, because not only have you been doing a crap ton of things behind the scenes of like a bunch of other content creators, but as well as like you yourself. I was going to talk to you about this privately, but I think it'd be like a good brag for you to have. Like, there's people, like when you joined Vove, there's people that noticed that. I was one of those people too. But other people have been putting it in their like biography of like, oh, I saw Sooner join, and so that made me want to check it out. Like, I don't think you understand the amount of validity you bring to certain things because of how tightly you're put together, like how tight your brand is with other creators and how you always have good rapport. And that was one of the things that I wanted to have you on, because I have yet to hear someone be like, oh, I hate that guy Sooner. Oh, he's got these.
That sucks.
No, for real
He's
though.
awful.
Like, I haven't had a bad rapport about you yet. And so I was just like, okay, it's gotta be something. And then over time, it's just like, no, you've proven to be a staple point, in a lot of people's content and newly into mine. And I think it's easy to talk to content creators about like being in the spotlight, how hard it is, whatever. But there's also like, there's people behind every big person. Like Tim the Tapman has whips. And that's all I can think of.
That's it. Only Whips. Whips does so much. Like, he's the golden standard.
But it's true though. Like I think of moderators such as Fluffy. I think of you. I think of Katsky for me and TT. And like, I think of all these people, these staple people behind other content creators. And it's like, yeah, you can look at the person standing on the platform, but you got to look at the people who are holding up said platform.
Right.
And I think that's
right.
One of the things that you, as well as being in with a bunch of creators, I think you also have been able to, because I know what it can be like to be around so many people, as well as like, I think it's just, you are allowed into such a interesting spot to where you get to see behind the scenes of everything, to where it's hard to not want to pick your brain and wonder, like what does that do? What does that open you up to? Is there any like, do you have any advice for creators? Do you have any things like, hey, make sure not to do this? Or is it been more like, is it inviting to be in that space with content creators, or is it deterring? Like, I'm just curious about all of it.
I guess the place that I would start, right? And I guess if we can, I don't want to waste too much time here, but if we can take a step back, like I'll talk about how I got to where I am now. And I think that that'll help paint the picture a little bit, because like a lot of people have known me. I've been around the community for, the better part of five years or so. And probably the first year and a half of that was just mainly being a viewer. A good half of that half was being like a moderator and maybe editing some clips here and there just to be like a meme lord and all that sort of stuff. But like my content journey didn't really start until probably like the middle of 2020, which is probably when everyone else's content journey really started because of the pandemic and the lockdown, and everyone just sitting around home bored in front of their computers like, well, shit, I could stream, I could do this, I could get on a dancing app and record TikToks or do whatever. And so
Right.
at that point, I was a pretty strong moderator, at least I feel, right? If Biggie was in here, he'd probably be like, nah, probably not. But
There's a reason you're still on his team, and he is picky as they
right,
come. So I don't think he'd be like, maybe. Like, you
it's like,
stand
nah,
out, bro.
He'd be like, nah, sooner sucks. No, so at like the middle of 2020, I was on Biggie's moderator team. I was a moderator for a couple other people, primarily because I understood how to mod. Like, I understood how to do commands, how to set up chat stuff, how to do overlays. Like, I understood a little bit of the intricacies of like stream elements and OBS and all that sort of stuff for other people. And so I was like, let me try it. Let me see what I can do. Let me see what I could bring to the table. Let me see what I like to create, what I like to enjoy, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. And so it was, I think it was Christmas. No, I don't remember. I don't remember what, I think it was Christmas of 2019 is when I got my first camera. And it's the camera that I've got recording right now. It's a Canon M50 Mark I. Love the camera. It was just something like, hey, I want to fool around. I want to see what videos I can record. I want to see what photography I can do, being a total amateur in all aspects of the board, right? And so I started a YouTube channel. I started a TikTok account. I just started playing around with things. I have a gimbal for my iPhone that I started playing around with and testing out. I basically, like, the way that I like to operate, like, if I'm going to take up a position, I want to learn everything else that deals with that position, right? Yeah. Like, I want to learn, if I'm going to be a moderator for somebody, I need to learn stream elements. I need to learn OBS. I need to learn all these little things about how a chat runs, how the moderator tools are, how to clip specific things, how far back clips go, how to sequence stuff. Like, there's all of these things that go into it. And every other content creator, I think, should learn these things. And I would even challenge, like, if you've got at least one or two trusted moderators on your mod team, ask them to dig into it too. But I started my own content. I started my own YouTube channel. I started everything. I started streaming on my own. I got Twitch affiliate and all that sort of stuff, which is super easy to get, by the way. But I'm just gonna throw it out there. Like, it's literally the easiest thing. My 18-month-old daughter could do it. But I got all of those things, and I never ever saw myself. So there's a couple people that I've gone back and forth with on this, but I never saw myself as like an actual content creator, like, because I knew in the back of my head, like, I was just doing all of this as an experiment. But I also knew in the back of my head that I was never going to get far. I was never going to be as big as all of these different people. I was never going to be like the next Tim or the next Nick or the next, John C. Stout or Lucci or whomever it is out there, because that's not ultimately, as much as I love entertaining, right? I love entertaining. I love being in front of a camera and talking to people and getting to know people and, having different content ideas and all that sort of stuff. I knew that wasn't necessarily the end goal.
Right.
The end goal was to be a part of something that was bigger than myself, that I could contribute to its overall ultimate success, whatever that success was from the group that was involved, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So all of that to say, I amassed a really good following on, I think TikTok was probably my biggest app. I've got like 24,000 followers on TikTok. Had a couple viral videos that worked out really well for me. Just like hopping on trends and stuff like that. Everything else, I've got a YouTube channel that I think right now at like 400 subscribers. I haven't posted to it in over a year and a half, and it still pulls 23,000 views a month. And that's a separate asterisk that we can get to a little bit later. But like, I've got this TikTok, I've got this Instagram, I've got all these places that I'm posting clips and stuff like that. And I'm learning, right? I'm absorbing all this information. Okay, how can I edit this? What makes this more of an appetite than, what of the editing in this clip makes it better than this clip? What differentiates these two, right? And so I started learning, I started doing all this sort of stuff. And then I was having a conversation with Biggie, and obviously I give him, crap about things that he would say about me and all that sort of stuff. But honestly, like, I owe a big a big credit to him for kind of like coaching me in a way, right? And he's among a handful of people that have helped me out in my quote unquote content journey. But I credit him a lot because he kind of took me under his wing and said like, okay, like let's start working together. Let's start, doing this. Let's start doing that. I'm going to give you a video. Why don't you try to edit this? Show me what you can do. All this sort of stuff. And it worked out because I knew I had already edited my own TikToks, my own YouTube videos, my own clips from Twitch that I had gotten, my own whatever. And I had done all of these sorts of things to put myself in a position for somebody else to say, I think you can do this. Why don't you work with me? Let's try this out. Let's see how it works. And that's where it kind of really took off from there. So, to get back to the original point of, what's it done for me, the big realization that I had as a creator, right? As just a creator in general. And it's still hard for me to label myself that way because I know that I'm not creating my own material, but I've had it argued at me that like you're creating with other people's material. That means you're still creating. You're still a content creator, whatever. That I managed to have a conversation with several people, and I said, I am done. I'm putting a pause on this for right now. I'm not going to stream. I'm not going to do my own TikToks. I'm not going to do all this sort of stuff. What I'm going to do is analyze what everyone else is doing and try and put good energy into partnering with somebody to help grow their brand. And so the total lesson that I personally learned from that, and I was totally okay with like carrying the mantle, I guess you could say, for that sort of thing, and not necessarily admitting defeat. And there's a lot of different mixed feelings in here, but the advice that I would say is to any person who's a content creator, who wants to be a content creator, who wants to be a part of this community, you need to analyze and recognize what you are good at. Right. You need to understand, you are really good with Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or whatever your video editing software of choice is. You are really good with knowing the ins and outs of OBS and Stream Elements. You are really good with understanding trends, when and how to hop on them, how to put them together. Like, you need to recognize all the different things about this industry that you're good at. Maybe you're not super comfortable in front of a camera, but you still stream. Okay, whatever. You can do whatever you want. That's totally fine. Right. But if you're somebody who is streaming to try and grow your own brand, but what you really enjoy is the editing process, or you really enjoy Discord, or the technical aspects of setting up a stream or something like that, dig into that. Go hard and see how you can find ways to work with other people utilizing those skills. The harsh truth behind all of this is that not everyone is going to make it. And I think that, like, I know that you understand that, and I think a lot of other people understand that. And when you say it out loud, it's like, oh yeah, I know that. But I think people need to hear it out loud.
It's like, no, that could be you. That could be me.
Right.
That could be
exactly. And I don't say that to be a dick, right? No. Like I don't want to be that asshole in the room that's going to point at somebody directly and say like, hey, you're not going to make it because of X, Y, and Z. Right. Like you suck, so you're not going to make it. Like, and I don't want that energy for anybody. Like, absolutely. I want people to try. And I think there's a place, Big Rob Energy said it the other day on Twitter. There's a place for everyone to succeed, and everyone has what it takes to succeed in some sort of way. Yep. You need to recognize the ways that you think you can succeed, and you need to recognize that quickly, because that's where that's where the advantages come in. And I think that's, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. I think that's where it's got me to where I am today, to where, people, for whatever reason, recognize my name. People understand and know who I am. They know the people I worked with. They know the stuff that I've edited. They recognize my name and all that sort of stuff. And look, I'm not somebody... I understand in my position, right, in working behind the scenes with people, that like, it's not going to be my name on the YouTube channel. It's not going to be my name on the Twitter or the memes or the edits or whatever. Like, I'm not the face of a brand, but I know in the back of my head that I'm contributing to that success, and that's what matters to me. I don't have to be in the spotlight. I don't have to be, the person whose face is plastered everywhere on a skit or on a video or anything like that. That my time is come and gone, and I've already accepted the fact that that's not going to be me.
Was that difficult? Like I was gonna ask you, how's it feel
Yeah.
boosting other people, not boosting people because obviously you're getting either paid or exposure or something like that. Like exposure isn't really payment, but it is what it is. But
Affiliate
I was
companies? What? Hello? Sorry.
what?
We'll pay you an exposure and
Yeah.
retweets. Sorry, it's too soon for that.
I can't wait for rent to be able to be paid on that.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask, like, is that hard for you to boost someone? And it's like almost does the thought in the back of your head, because this is what I would struggle with, is like, man, without me, you would not be where you're at.
I would be lying. Yeah, I would be lying if I said I haven't had those thoughts before. Like one of those, like you wouldn't necessarily be exactly where you are if I hadn't come on board. Like there are some times where like I've had that thought, but the immediate thing that kicks that out of my mind is saying, okay, well, I wouldn't be where I am if that person hadn't decided to work with me and we had decided to form a partnership.
Yeah.
Right. If you know, we'll take Big E for an example, or honestly, I can go far back as to say the creator Hee. I don't know if you know who he is. He's one of the first creators that I connected with. I absolutely love that dude, and I've told him, you know, he and I met like when I got into the community. He's a streamer, he's a father, you know, a husband. He's a very you know, he's a man of faith. Is probably the best way to say that. And I love him. I love his energy. I love, you know, his attitude and everything that he does. You know, he gets my Twitch Prime every single month without a shadow of a doubt, without any question. He gets my Twitch Prime, and it doesn't matter if he's like streaming once a month, he's streaming 20 times a month. It doesn't matter. Like I support that dude. I love that dude. So he's going to get all that sort of stuff. But he's one of the first people that I edited a full length YouTube video for. He was doing a contest, and it was back in the Among Us days. Do you remember those days? Is that game still even like a thing? Do people play Among Us?
Bro, I thought Fall Guys was dead, and that thing got a resurgence. So I was like, Among Us had a little bit too long in the spotlight for me. Like,
yeah, every once in a while you see a creator that's like, oh, I'm getting together like a crew of people to play Among Us, and you're like, that game still exists? But hey, whatever. Like, it was a good time. I played Among Us for a while. I got some good clips out of it and all that jazz. But you know, he's one of the first people I edited a video for. And it was great. It was one of the first ways I could get to work with somebody. And you know, being in the background, being in not in like, you know, necessarily the spotlight is sometimes hard. You know, it's one of those things that you kind of have to come to terms with, as harsh as it may sound. Like you have to get it into your head very quickly. That's like, yeah, you're not going to be the face. And I would tell that to anybody, along with the whole, not everyone is going to make it. Not everyone is going to make it. But if you still want to be a part of this industry, you need to understand your strengths and your talents. You need to work with somebody and then recognize, like, yeah, you may be partnered with them. They may be a very big creator and they've put you on their team to do X, Y, and Z, but understand, like, it may not be your face, and you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with the fact that you're not going to be in the spotlight. You're not going to be the person who's plastered everywhere. You know, I think that the people that I've worked with in the past have given probably more recognition than I deserve in some instances, where it's like, hey, so-and-so edited this, or this clip is from so-and-so, you know, Sooner helped me with this, Sooner did that, whatever. Like, you know, that stuff is more than I would ever expect. But the influx of knowledge and the opportunity of a partnership and working with somebody in any sort of capacity, like, that's what I thrive off of, because I know, and at least I would hope, that anyone that I've worked with or am working with right now, as long as I'm doing my job and my job is furthering the brand that I'm working with, then that's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, that's what I want. So like, I know you and I we're working out and working into a good groove of how we're going to work together. But like, I don't expect you to shout me out every time that we do a video. I don't expect you to shout me out for 5 minutes in aggregate every stream that you do, and hopefully it's not a 37-hour one. You know, I don't expect any of that sort of stuff. You know, my satisfaction comes out of it when the success is there, or when the success is measurable enough to where we can continue going down the road for the next milestone, the next goal, whatever it happens to be. and same thing goes for anyone that maybe I don't work with that directly or on like a full-time quote unquote basis, where it's like I give ideas to people. I'll call or not call, but I'll message Deadly, or I'll message Paula, or any of these people that are kind of in my close circle and say, hey, I think you could do really good with this idea, or hey, take this video, tweak it right here, and I think it'll pop. Like, I don't expect anybody to post a video and be like, oh yeah, Sooner gave me this idea, give him credit. Like, no, I don't deserve any of that stuff. I just want to see people win, man. That's really what it boils down to.
I think that's such a maybe just because I understand that, to where you just like, it cost me nothing to give flowers. Like, it cost me nothing to be like, hey man, great job. What did I lose by doing that? And I think the people, who thrive the most, like you and Big Rob have very similar energy, like very similar vibes, very similar. Like, you guys just lift people up. You guys are just constantly proud, constantly just pushing people up, but it takes nothing from you, which puts you in a great position with everyone. But I will say that you don't have a vibe of being easily taken advantage of, which kind of comes with always giving flowers. Is like, people can be like, oh, they'll always be there. It's like, I don't get that from you. I don't get like a, hey, if you're a scumbag to me, I'm still gonna suck your dick. Like, it's
Not
one of
into
the
that.
no, but it's just one of those things where it's like, you have gained respect and you also give respect. And I think what that hard balance of is like, there's people who constantly lift other people up and they're constantly being put down, or not being put down, but just like they don't get any attention. They don't get any applause. They don't get anything. And I think that's something that I find super hard, like, to find that balance of like, you want respect, but you also give it out. Like, you give what you want. And
it's interesting too, because it's to me, it's crazy that this statement still has to be said in 2022 when like streaming is still out there and all that sort of stuff. But it goes back years and years and years, where it's like, people will still gift subs or still give compliments or give bits or donations or everything, and immediately expect something in return. Mm-hmm. And if I would say this to anybody out there, if you are still one of those people who will give to a creator, and this is outside of like just liking tweets and retweeting stuff or liking a TikTok or whatever it happens to be. But if you go to somebody's channel or you go to whatever and you give to that creator and just immediately you expect something back, like, you are not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
You're not. You are expecting like it to be a transaction, where the transaction is actually, hey, I am giving you, I don't know, $5 because I find entertainment value in you. Please continue doing what you're doing, and I hope that you can keep entertaining me with this $5 or with the aggregate of what everyone else is given during the stream or whatever it happens to be. If you go into somebody's channel and expect that, like, you're not in this for the right reasons, or you don't understand the industry. That's what I think it boils down to. And that's everyone goes through that. I would be lying if I said that every once in a while, like, the thought doesn't creep into my head, where it's like, okay, I've given all this person X, Y, and Z, it would be nice if they just responded to a DM or something like that. Now, fortunately, I don't find myself in that position as of recently, or even in the past maybe year or so. I've been lucky enough to where people, I guess, recognize me enough to want to respond to me or whatever it happens to be. But, I've sent messages to some people just like saying, hey, I appreciate what you do. Keep going. Or like, this piece of content you made, like, it convinced me to follow, or convince me to subscribe, or like, hey, you're doing a kick-ass job, please, I hope that this continues to work out for you and you don't lose any sort of spark or anything like that. And there's been a couple times where, like, a thank you would be nice, or just like an acknowledgement to say, like, hey man, thank you for watching my content, or hey man this, hey man that. Like, those sorts of things I think every creator should practice.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna ruin my day, and it's not going to like, I'm not gonna stew on it and then immediately try to like cancel culture that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I send a thank you message or just like a message to somebody, like if you could acknowledge it, cool. If not, you know, it's no skin off my back. I still feel good because I gave you recognition that I think you deserve, which is why I sent the message in the first place, or why I commented in the first place.
Absolutely. I didn't send send the good jobs for you to be like, hey man, thank you. Want to collab? Like, yeah.
Like,
well, that was how.
It's just weird energy.
Oh yeah. Well, that was what you put off immediately. Was very, very genuine. Very like, hey, I don't like. We met. I remember the first time we played together. We were playing Halo 3.
It was when my power went out. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do. Yep.
I was pissed because I was like, I'm having a good time with these guys.
Yep. And it was fun. Like but it was immediately like, you're also not a immature person. Like, and that's what I'm starting to find out, that some of these content creators and some of these editors, as well as some of these people, like moderators, like, are very immature. And that was one of the things that stood out to me, is like, you are not only backed by, one, you do stuff with mature people, with people who have a good head on their shoulders, have very little very little history of being angry or egotistical or anything. And it's one of those things where it's like, when you surround yourself with that, like, you are seen. I put you in that same light, to where it was like, one, we had a great time, we vibed together, we played Halo 3, I got my cheeks clapped because Big Rob somehow excels at dinosaur games.
Hey,
and
come on now.
Hey, I'm just saying.
It was our heyday, bro.
It was our heyday. That was part of my heyday too, but y'all motherfuckers, like, were slaying on that game. And I was like, I have a better graphics card than most of you guys, and you're beating the shit out of me. Like, but it was the first impression that you kept mature, you kept respectful, you kept professional, and you were just hanging out, like.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I've seen from you, that I've never seen you out of pocket. I've never seen you in a place to where it's like, oh wow, Sooner snapping on someone. It's like, you've always remained composed. You've always remained, and I think that's what's made you succeed and excel. Like, it's not just like, yeah, you do great work, you're around great people. It's all by yourself. You are a reputable person. And I think with our private conversations about your jobs that you've been able to get, like, people are noticing, people are understanding it. And I've called it out from the beginning. I don't know what it is with my foresight of like seeing who's doing a great job and who's gonna get bigger.
This man, a magic 8-ball right
I'm
now.
telling you,
Crystal
man.
ball.
I had Halite, I have you, I had Dish, I had Rob. Like, I'm just saying.
You just know, man.
Like, it's easy to spot out, because it's like, with you, it's and I'm glad this got delayed 6 months, because not only at the time, yeah, 100%, you were very valuable and viable for everyone that you came in contact with, but seeing everything that your hands touch, not like me speaking personally, I sent you a super fucking short for a challenge that I did, and that was a super profitable challenge. Was I exhausted out of it? 100%, but you stepped up to the plate and did what you provided on a short notice. You didn't have to do that. Like, everything you've touched, you've given 100%. And I think that's where, especially with what's been going on with Nate Shot and Frost, like, when you are given an opportunity, you thrive. You understand the importance of that time and what is it? The time, as well as the opportunity given. And that's one thing that I've looked back on the whole Frost. And for people that don't know, Nate Shot had this whole thing called a mob house. Look it up on Google, whatever. But he gave these kids an opportunity that would have been a fucking lifetime opportunity if they had just stuck with it. From my perspective, I see that what 100 Thieves is now, even what it was then, And like, even having, if someone reached out to me and was like, hey, we're going to do this and pay for your living, do this, give you a salary for you to do content, bro, I'd be on, oh my God. Like, but it's also the same thing with you of like, you've been partnered with some creators who have validity, and you know, this is a good experience. This is a good thing to have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna work my ass off, and I know that like, you have more than this job. Like, it's, but you're building experience with, and it's always good experience. Like, you've done very well to create great rapport for yourself, and I think that's incredibly hard not to do, or to do behind the scenes, and not as a content creator. Like, that's hard to do, to be like, hey, as soon as the guy, is he a content creator? No, he's just the backbone. Like,
you got to have the mindset for it, man, in my opinion. And you know, this is me speaking from experience, right? Again, it goes back to the whole thing where, like, you have to understand that, like, you are accepting a role that is playing a small part in a bigger piece, in a bigger puzzle, whatever, you know, whatever cliche, you know, or whatever you want to use. Like, you have to understand your role in how it fits into the grand scheme of things, and understand that it probably won't be you. And you know, I've never done any of this sort of stuff to want to be recognized. Like, I think the recognition will naturally come, and you know, whether it, in that instance, whether it does come or it doesn't come isn't up to me. It's up to the creators that I work with. But that sort of stuff, I think, is just natural as a part of, you know, just being a good partner to somebody. And I've said this to everyone that I've worked with, and I know you and I specifically have had this conversation, is like, you know, if somebody wants me to edit for them, somebody wants me to help them with YouTube or help them whatever, which, first off, I don't claim to be an expert. Like, asterisk, like, put this in the Spotify description or whatever. Like, I am not an expert by any means, any stretch of the imagination, in terms of like how I support other creators. I am not a YouTube guru. I am not a TikTok guru. I am not even like an Adobe Premiere guru. I'm not a guru of anything. I'm a guru of trying to be a Swiss Army knife. And if I don't know the answer, I will find it. But I will do whatever it needs to be done to find that answer. But when I approach people, or when people approach me and say, hey, are you open? Hey, do you want to do this? Blah, 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 blah. I don't say, you know, yeah, I want you to hire me. Here's my hourly rate. Here's my contract. Let's do this. Yeah. I say, and you know, I've had some people turn me down, to be honest with you, because of my approach. But I'm sticking to my guns on this one, because this is like how I operate as a person. Is, you know, this is a partnership. Like, yeah, I'm going to support you. I'm going to work for you. I'm going to do all this sort of stuff. But like, when I work with somebody, I want it to be a partnership, because what I am gaining isn't only pay for my services or my work or whatever happens to be, but like, I'm getting the knowledge and the inside look as to like what you want to do with your brand. You know, let's take you for example, right? I know we had this conversation. It's like, I want this to be a partnership. I want to grow John C. Stout on YouTube.com. And I want the brand to be big. I want you know, I want a lot of people to know you, to know and understand that you play a variety of games, that you rage at Apex, that sometimes you do streams that might be a little bit too long, or, you know, might take a little sliver of your sanity or a couple years off of your life. But like, I want people to recognize you. Yeah. And if through that process, like, you and I are learning together on how to forward that goal, that's the dream right there. But if you were just saying, hey, I want you to edit this video, what's going to happen in that scenario? You're just going to send me clips and say, I need this edited by X date. When you're done, send it over to me. I'll give you approval, and then I'll take it and upload to the YouTube channel. But that's not how I operate, right? I have access to your YouTube channel. I have access to a handful of different creators' YouTube channels to say, like, I want to look at the analytics. Again, not an expert, but I want to look at the analytics and see what I can figure out. I want to look at the watch time. I want to look at the retention time. I want to look at when your audience is looking at your videos, your content, whatever it happens to be. And I would say that I would say that anybody who wants to follow in my footsteps is a weird way to say it, because like, I'm not a trailblazer by any stretch of the imagination, but like, anybody who wants to do what I do, or who wants to at least like give me a time of day to listen to me, like, that's what I would say. Like, I would approach people to say, hey, I want to partner with you because I believe in you. I believe in your brand and what you are capable of. Let's do this together and let's figure it out along the way.
I would disagree with you. I would say that you are a trendsetter because it's very hard to come across someone so dedicated at what you're doing without having the following of a Whips or someone else or anything else like that. Like you definitely you are a trendsetter, because I'm looking at people, and when people ask me why I don't hire them to do stuff, it's like, look at Sooner. Because if you're not doing what he's doing, then I don't want anything to do with you. You raise a standard that where crap work isn't going to be acceptable anymore. And especially for content creators. Like, you are doing a job, whether you're being a mod, you're being a backbone, you're being behind the scenes. Like, you are helping them create a brand that will last for however long they decide to do it. And if it's successful enough, which we're watching a lot of people come into streaming, a lot of people come into content creation that are fizzling out faster than my farts. Like, it's crazy. Like, if you want any sort of sustainability that will bring you profits, bring you brand deals, like, you have got to understand how to handle someone's brand. And you do. You are handling multiple people's brands. Like, it's not just and I mean, to talk about Vove, like, you're honestly the only validity that I had of joining that team. I'm like, honestly, like, no offense to Hirsch, no offense to anyone else. You are the only one that had valid experience of raising something from the ground. And that's why I trusted it. That's why I know the latest recruit trusted it. And that's hard to have. That's hard to bring to the table, is something to where it's like, oh, he's a part of it, I trust it. 100%. Yeah. And you've never once shot me a piece of information or an opinion that has not been thought over. And if you haven't done any research on it, you do. And, like, that's where it's like, you're not a guru of something, but at the same time, you are able to adapt. And that is, in my opinion, way more valuable than a guru. A guru knows what they know best, and they stick with that. A Swiss Army knife. Hey, man, you need an editor? I'm your guy. Hey, man, you need a moderator? I'm your guy. Hey, you need someone to look up some trends and do this? I'm your guy. Like, I'm able to do enough for this to where it's like, this is the all-in-one stop shop. Will I be a pro in it? Will I be the best at it? Absolutely not. Will I be enough to where I can get something off the ground? 100%. And that's what it takes. There's so many content creators, bro. Even, like, speaking from my experience, I've lifted and I've hit back on the ground, and I've lifted again, hit back on the ground. So staying afloat is something that you've been able to do to where it's like, hey, we're not hitting the ground. We're up. We're gliding. We need to figure out how to get higher. But we're steady here. Steadiness as a content creator and as a business owner is my favorite feeling ever. Am I thriving and like buying Lamborghinis? No. Am I able to do what I need to be doing because I have a team behind me, whether that be one guy or two or whatever? You're someone who is trustworthy with a bunch of either brands, money, security. Like, that is no small feat. And that's what and that's why I'm excited that I waited a while. I was like, not only like did I kind of feel that from you, but it's like, I now see it. And especially with the conversations we've had privately where businesses are like, yeah, this is your job. And you're like, oh, I'm worth this. Like, I think even for you, it's been a bit eye-opening of like, oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm worth this. Okay. Dope. Like, and for me, I've seen enough crap to notice when I'm like, oh, there's the diamond. There it is. Like, there's the hard worker. There's the guy who's legitimately behind creators, pumping them up to where it's like, hey, you got this. We've had multiple conversations where I was like, man, I'm fucking tired. And you have legitimately been able to be like, okay, cool. Everyone's tired. We got this, though. Like that, and not motivation, but just that being like, hey, this is what we signed up for. This is what we're doing. This is how you're going to keep doing it. And we got this.
Yeah.
And
It's a huge mental game, honestly. Like from both
100%.
my position, your position, like either side of the table, whether you're the person in front of the camera, or you're the person behind the camera, and I would be willing to bet money that other people who are in my position, other moderators out there, other editors out there, have been in that sort of mental position where it's like you want to help people and all that sort of stuff, but you recognize that there are limits to everything. Right, there's limits to how much you can give. There's limits to how much of the out, quote unquote background you can take. I know me myself, like there have been points where I'm like, I don't know that I can just like look at Twitter today, or I don't know that I can look at content today. I can't think about editing. I can't do X, Y, and Z. Like I need a mental reset. And I think that would be totally fine. I think that taking a look at the position, like you have to have almost like a volunteer mindset where you know that the energy you're giving out may not be directly reciprocated, but that the energy you're putting out is still positive enough to move things forward. That's and this dates back all the way through like my high school days, to be honest with you, and all the things that I've done in the past is that like every position that I've ever taken, whether it's on like a leadership board or within like my fraternity, for anybody out there who knows what drum corps is, like, being in a drum corps, like all of those sorts of things, it's like it's a very, very selfless position to put yourself in. Now, I don't say that you should just give away all of your time for free. Obviously, like I want to make money. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like if I'm working with somebody, like I want to be paid. We'll work out whatever the payment is, but like I want to be paid. But I'm working with you because I believe in you, and I'm going to give you all this. Even if the people that I'm not working with, I'm going to pour out as much positive energy as I can, because like there's people that deserve it, and I mean, as cliche as it sounds, like the world deserves and needs a little bit more like positive energy, just like across the board, and I want to give that out. But there are times where it can be like mentally taxing, where maybe you don't want to give out positivity, but that doesn't mean you give out negativity. That just means like, okay, I'm going to keep to myself for a day. Like I'm going to, just kind of like do my thing today. Maybe I'll just like play a game by myself, or I'll just like watch a TV show, or I'll just chill on the couch or whatever it is. But like, I don't want to do anything related to content. I have had those days. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. I can tell you right now, I've had days, even very recently, I had a day where I went through, I can't even like think of what the term is called. It's not like self-doubt, but it's imposter syndrome. That's what I'm thinking of. I had a huge day where I had imposter syndrome, where I was like, and I'm not looking for pats on the back or anything, by saying this, but it was one of those, like, I am not putting as much effort as I should be. I should not be where I am. I do not deserve, what I've gotten so far. It was one of those, like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what I did, or, I don't feel like I deserve any of this sort of stuff. And that's okay. Right. Yeah. Like, I think that that's an okay thought process to have. But I think I snapped out of that, not relatively quickly, but I snapped out of that and literally just having a conversation with creators, not about that, but just like putting myself in an environment to have just a normal conversation with other people that are just like me, that want the exact same thing. And maybe not the exact same things that I want, but that are striving after the same types of goals that I am, in terms of like where they want to go in this industry. Yep. And so it's one of those, like, all of that to say, like, you're going to have tough mental days, whether you're the creator or you're the person behind the scenes. It just depends on like how you handle that, and how you kind of move through it and stuff like that.
Is there, like you said, you wanted to get paid? I think a lot of people can learn from this. How do you pick what you take for free and what you don't? Like, that's where I'm curious about, because I've done my own business separate from streaming for a while, so I know like that initial frustration of like, hey, I don't have money to pay. It's like, well, okay, well, I got to get something. Like I got to get something out of this. Or is there like sometimes where you're like, all right, I'll help you out? Like,
there have been a few people that. So here's how I would look at it, right? And this is just me. This may not be for everybody, but right. the way I look at it is that if I see potential in somebody, or if I see that, like, not somebody struggling, but like maybe I can add a little bit of value to that person. For example, I saw there was somebody who posted a Twitter clip the other day. And I know who it was. I won't name drop any names.
Okay.
But there's somebody who posted not a Twitter clip, a TikTok clip the other day. And I messaged them and said like, hey, I think you'd have a lot of more value in this TikTok if you added subtitles to them. They immediately responded and said, that's a really good idea, but I find it really time consuming, which is why I don't do it. And I said, I can do it in 10 minutes. Send me the clip and give me 10 minutes and I'll have it back to you. And it took me a little bit longer than 10 minutes because I had a couple things come up, but 30 minutes, I turned a clip around to a guy and got it back to him. And, that's not something where I would expect payment from. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I edited this for you. I had this idea, the video kind of popped off. Now pay me $15. Like that's not a position that I'm going to, put myself in or put the creator in, because I approached the creator with the idea and said that I could do it. So I'm already volunteering my time up front, but also I believe in that person's ability to be a creator. Yeah. Or to put out meaningful content. So if I can help them and it only takes me 10, 15 minutes out of my way to get it done, cool, I'm going to do that. Now, where we go into getting payment and stuff like that, that's where it comes down to an actual, either a handshake agreement or an actual contract. Yeah. Where we sit down and say okay, we're going to do this. We are both agreeing that we have something here, we have a partnership, we have some sort of working ground, we're going to try this out for a little bit. And so, I'm going to give you my time and my skills and my limited expertise. I would like you to pay me for that. I would like a payment for all of this sort of stuff. And as we go along, if we find that either A, it's not working, or B, it's working really well, then we can talk about it. Very early in my career, I guess you could call it, whatever that, it's a kind of a weak word for me at this point, but early on in my career in all of this, how I would always approach people for video editing is to say hey, this is probably not the way to do it. I don't know that I'd recommend it to people now, but I always said, hey, I will do one video for you totally free. Let me play around with it. Let me see what I can make out of this. And I will present it to you. And if you want to use it for your YouTube channel and all that sort of stuff, awesome. More power to you. If you only want to use this one video and then you want to go to another editor, that's totally fine. But I'm willing to give you a trial run so that you can understand my workflow, my editing style, my editing skills. And if you want to make something out of this and we want to partner up, fuck yeah, let's do it. If you don't, then I maybe spent an hour and a half doing two things. One, giving it a try and, quote unquote, shooting my shot or whatever the kids say these days. And B, strengthening my portfolio in one way or another, because now I have that content that I personally have edited. My handprints are on a piece of content that was edited for somebody. It's my work. It's their content, but it's my work. I'm going to use it as a piece of my portfolio if I feel it's relevant. So that's how I would approach things. And if it turns into a deal and it turns into something where it's, where we can build a partnership out of it, awesome. And like I said, if not, whatever. An hour of my day is not, in the grand scheme of things for this industry. You can get a lot else done in an hour, but for me to test the waters with something, I find value in that.
Yeah. At what point do you feel like you will stop giving people tests? At what point do you think your work will stand up enough to where it's all right, no, I've done my trials, I've done my periods, or do you think you'll offer that for everyone? Because that's where
I don't know that I would offer that for everyone. Okay. And in fact, I haven't offered that for everyone. To be honest with you, there's a couple people that have hey, I want you to edit for me, and I'm like, hey, okay, here's my rates. Here's and it's not because I don't believe the person or I don't see the value in it or anything like that. It's one of those okay, I know very plainly, I can tell by the ask, right? I'm a salesman by trade. I can tell by the ask, you just want a video edited. That's all you want. That's all the value you want out of approaching me. You know that I can edit a video. You know I pay for Adobe Premiere every month. So you just want to use me for my tools and my skills. You're going to pay me X amount, and that's going to be it. Okay, fine. Then I'll do that. If you're going to pay me and you're giving me control over what you want done, I'll work with you. We'll make it happen. It'll be done.
Yeah.
Handshake deal. To answer your question about whether or not I'll continue that, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I think that I would probably say that if I'm in a position to be partnered with a handful, like a small handful of creators, to where I just physically can't take on more, like that's probably what I'll do. Every once in a while, again, if I see somebody where it's like, hey, I think I could do this for you and just kind of help boost this one piece, then yeah, sure, I'll do that. But you know, I don't offer that to everybody, and I don't think I should. Selfishly, I don't think I should offer that to everybody, because you know, there's still value in what I do. Whether the size of that value is subjective a little bit, but you know, there's still value in what I do, and I need to keep that a little close to my chest.
Yeah, I don't know. I was gonna ask, do you have a content creator in mind? You don't have to say it, but if they asked you to do something, you would totally do it out of passion. Just being like, hey, I would love just to even say that I've worked for you, or like even done stuff for you. I would happily do it. Do you think?
Do you mean like for free, or for payment, or just like in general?
For free, just like you'd love to create with this content creator, or like create for this content creator because you love and endure like their content so much that it would be worth it for you? Or is there always that
I think there's like a small list of that, right? Like I think there's a small list of people, mainly people who are on like my I guess I would call it my inner circle, or people that I regularly talk to about content, or just like about anything in general. I would say 9 times out of 10, if I have your phone number, like if I have your personal cell phone number, then I've connected with you enough to where I would probably do that. Yeah. I would probably say like, hey, if you need something edited, or if somebody approached me and said, hey, I really need this edited, I'm crunched for time, like I can't really pay you, like we'll talk through that. I'm not going to immediately dismiss the conversation. Right. I may not say yes all the time, but I think that I'm willing to have the conversation with somebody to say like, okay, tell me what you're working through. Because at the end of the day, I'm a problem solver, right? If I can't edit it, or if I'm not willing to edit it unless I'm getting paid something, the very least I can do is say, here's what I would do. Here's how I would solve this challenge that you're looking at. Like, okay, you don't have the time to get this edited, or you're not sure how to edit or whatever. Like, I can help you with that. I can walk you through that process, or help point you in the right direction, maybe to find somebody else. Or I'll say, hey, you know what? Let's get this done. Let's make it happen. Always kind of like a situation by situation basis. But, you know, I would say if I have your number, or if like we're well connected, like I'd be willing to extend, you know, some sort of offer or some sort of help to that person, because that's just who I am.
Mm-hmm. I think, and that's what's so interesting about you, is usually with and I experience this with big amounts of kindness, there's usually a burnout on it. Mm-hmm. And I have not seen a burnout, nor have I seen you put yourself in a place where you could be burnt out easily. And I think that's where. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. I am wrong. No, I'm just joking.
I don't think that I've gotten to a place where I have burned out. Okay. And I say that very cautiously, because I know I'm going to say it, and then tomorrow I'm going to be like, fuck everything, I'm done. Like, you know, I don't think I've gotten to a place where I've been burnt out. I've definitely gotten to a place where I've either been discouraged and not wanting to do it because of a case of imposter syndrome or what have you, or it's one of those where it's just like I'm not feeling creative enough to where if I opened the program and started editing a video, like it wouldn't turn out well. I would know that before even sitting down in front of my computer, is to say like, okay, I know this isn't going to turn out well. I don't want to try, because it's just not going to go well. You know, I haven't been to the point where I have been burnt out yet. And I try to be very cautious about burnout, because I know it's a very real thing. I know it's a very real common thing around this community. But what that boils down to for me personally is my time management. There are a lot of things that are important to me, and I feel like I do a decent enough job juggling all of those different things to where everything gets attention. There are some days where I think there are things deserve more attention than others. But at the end of the day, like, you know, I try my best to really manage my time to juggle all of the different things that I am either responsible for, or that I'm working on, that I'm a part of, so that like I can still play a part. And I know there's sometimes where I test it and I learn very much by the experience behind it. But I know, you know, there are some times where I will take on maybe a couple too many things and then have to scale myself back and be very open about that. And that just takes a lot of like honesty with oneself, with myself in that instance. You know, to where, you know, you got to understand, okay, you might get burnt out if you keep editing for 17 people.
Yeah.
You might get burnt out if you are being asked to do daily videos for 4 people, 2 people even. You just got to recognize that, really.
Do you have a price on, like, if someone's like, I want you to edit for me and only me, and it's gonna be day to day, it's gonna be a video every day? Do you have a price on what you would set for that, like in your head, like if someone came to you? Or would it not just be a price, it would be a price, their person, and how their content is?
Yeah, it would in that instance, it would have to be like a conglomerate of a couple different things. You know, I would have to take a while to think about that. And I say a while, like I would need a couple days to think about that, because in that instance, right, let's say a creator comes to me who's very big and says, I want you to edit for me, only for me, daily videos, or even like 5 days a week, not even 7. You know, we're gonna do daily videos. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. You need to drop everyone else who you are working with. You need to leave everything else that you're a part of. You are mine. At that point, that's where it goes back to the partnership thing. I would dig in and say, okay, tell me about your workflow. Tell me about what specific videos you want. Tell me what message you want behind your videos. It would tell me what you know, what your workflow looks like in terms of like how you manage things. And if those answers mesh with how I already work, then I know it's going to be a good fit and we can carry that conversation further. If let's say I edit in Adobe and I use Google Drive for all of my files, and I, you know, I want to have at least 24 hours notice of, hey, we need to get this video out by this date and this time. You know, let's say, what's today, Tuesday? You know, we'll say today's Tuesday. Somebody gets me a video by mid-morning and they want it done by 8 a.m. the next day. Okay, fine. I can work with that. But if you're going to tell you, if I'm going to wake up and say, I need a video done in 2 hours, and that's your expectation, we need to have a conversation. Because, and like, I'm going to sound like an old man at this, but it's like, dude, I have a family, right? Like I have a job. I have other commitments. You want me to drop these other commitments and we can talk about that. But like, there's a lot of other things I do besides editing. Editing is not my full-time gig. And I don't think that I've said that yet. But like that's not my full-time thing. Well, I don't support the family and this house and everything else just by editing videos. Yeah, I have a job, I have a family, I have friends, I have a social life. You know, I need to go outside and touch fucking grass every now and again, and shave the beard off of my neck so I don't become a degenerate. Like, we're not going to go down that path, and that's something I do stick to my guns on. If somebody were to approach me with that sort of opportunity, right? We need to see if we mesh. Like, I appreciate the fact that you recognize me. I appreciate the fact that you know my work ethic, and you know, like you like the editing that I do, and you like the people that I've worked for in the past or work with now or whatever. But like, if we don't mesh, I don't care how much you want to pay me. Now that's not true. If you're going to pay me like a shit ton of money, then like,
I was like, you have a price.
There's probably a price tag on that. But like, if you're going to be like, yeah, I'll pay you $20 a video, but you only edit for me, I'm going to tell you to kick rocks. And I have no problem saying that, because like there's still an image I want to uphold of myself and my own self, like, worth. You know what I mean?
How long did it take you to build that? Like, that image that you wanted to maintain? Fuck,
man, I'm still building that. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. Like, that's still something where, and it goes back to some of the earlier points where it's like, I have to understand and that I am not always going to be the spotlight. And to relate this feeds into my ego a little bit. And there's probably not a whole lot of people that know this about me, but like, sometimes I still do. And I try to catch myself. I try to be humble about it and try to be, you know, self-recognizing of it. But like, throughout high school and college, I had a huge ego, fucking massive ego. My wife would come downstairs and tell you the same thing. She would say, you know, Chris, you had a massive ego. I just doxed myself. Everyone knows my real name now. Okay, signing
Damn
off.
it! We'll cut it out.
I'm fucked. No, but like there are people that will tell you, and I will be the first one to admit it. Like I had a massive ego, and I always I was at the point where I wanted to be you know, part of the spotlight. I wanted to be a part of like the bigger things and all that sort of stuff. But like throughout my college career and what I was doing in college, I slowly realized that like, yeah, it doesn't always have to be me. Doesn't always have to be, you know, Sooner or Chris or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be that name in the spotlight, as long as the goal that I'm playing a part of is reached. That's what matters. The recognition is a natural part of that, but it is never expected, right? We're kind of coming full circle to that point. You know, so that's something, you know, that I'm still working on. I'm still building. I'm still like saying, you know, hey, it for a certain project, like, yeah, you know, you weren't recognized and you don't need to be. Your name does not need to be plastered everywhere. Your name does not need to be attached to this small project. You know, I know in the back of my head that I helped somebody and I did the best that I could. And, you know, I did everything that I knew how to do to the best of my ability. And that's where it leaves. That's where the conversation ends with that. You know, it's always a daily work in progress to build that sort of image and to build that sort of self idea about yourself. And I don't know that I'll ever be quote unquote finished with that. I think the important thing for me is that I stick to the things that I believe in. And I know that at the end of the day, like I gave my effort in what I believed in or what I knew or the knowledge that I had at the time or that I found or what have you. I think the kind of counterpoint to that though too, maybe not counterpoint, but the point that goes along with that I have started building more and more in my head is, if I'm going to try and help somebody, and if I'm going to put myself out there and put myself in a position to say, hey, my opinion, but this is what I think you should do, or this is how I can help you, or this is what I think would be the best course of action for X, Y, and Z. If there is a limit to how many times I can say that.
Yeah.
And that's just that. Maybe that's just me. Probably for everybody else too. There's a limit to how many times I can say that. And I've started to recognize more and more that if people don't want to accept that, or if people like are going to tell me to my face, yeah, that's totally a great idea, we'll go with that, and then turn behind my back and ignore everything that I said, then it's not a place for me, right?
Yep,
like
yep.
You know where I'm getting at with that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I will give you everything that I can, but if you're not going to at least listen to me, or if we're not going to work together, then I'm out. Then I am not going to give my time, because it is a waste of my time. It's a waste of my efforts.
Yep.
I don't want to like sound, this is where my ego is going to come out, right? Like I don't want to sound super egotistical, but like if you don't want to work with me, you don't want to listen to me, you don't want to at least like take my advice,
Yeah.
I'll go find somebody who will.
Yep.
I will go find, you know, whatever deal, everything. I will find somebody who will, and we'll just call it that.
Yeah. I think I'm sure that another thing with working with creators is sometimes their ego, I would say a lot of times their ego gets in the way. It's like, no, I don't want to be known for that. It's like, but I'm trying to let you know this is what's going to do best.
Mm-hmm.
I would say challenging a creator's ego is that of like dealing with a toddler's temper tantrum.
And I've dealt with both.
like it. I've seen some people that were like, I think it's just one of the things that's it's so scary to trust someone with your brand, but it's also got to be so annoying to jump through hoops when you've been so reputable. And I don't know if you have, but I'm sure there's people like, well, I don't know if that would work. It's like, listen, your dumb ideas haven't worked. Trust me. There's a reason why you liked my work, and I get it. It's hard to hand over your baby to someone else, but like, I want you to succeed. And I think that's what makes you such a great asset to people who you have helped, me included, is I trust that you want what's best for me. Not, hey, this kind of looks cool, and I know that what I've done has worked in the, like, it's, you're not prideful about your work. You know what's best for the brand. And that's what's also super complicated is working with another brand, it being different than another brand and being like, hey, I want you, everything about you, John C. Stout, to succeed in what you do best. You get flippantly angry at video games. You stream for too long. You do really dumb challenges, but it works out in your favor sometimes.
Yep.
And it's like, does that work for Big E? No. Does that work for, I almost said sorry, Big E. Does that work for Rob? No. Does that work for Kiko? No. That works for me. And for you to be able to be malleable enough to where you're not only looking at best practices for my brand, but you're looking at best practices for a business as well as a brand type. That's a lot. And I think that's what I would be very interested to know your mental process and how do you grab something that is something completely different from another creator and be like, okay, let's get this off the ground. Let's get you off the ground. But it's going to be different than what it is with someone else. And I think that's also a trait that doesn't just, like, I've had people edit my videos to where it's like they are trying to edit for a different style of video. Like, I've had multiple editors. And I think with yours, you take elements that have worked, and there are styles that work, templates that work, but you have thrown in my character and my personality in it to where it's like, it's still mine. This is me. And I think that's such a hard thing to be like, oh, this is just, because, bro, we've seen all the Warzone loadout videos. We've seen all the gameplay videos. We've seen all of it. Like, everything's been done under the sun, but there's, like with Nadia. Nadia, she's a recent female Warzone player that just came through. She has, whether she knows it or not, she has leaned in so heavily that everyone thinks that she is hacking or VPNing because she's better than most COD players. And it feeds into why she's gotten popular, because people make videos about her, how much they hate her, how much she's a cheater, how much whatever. And I think she knows it, but like, I'm sure it's annoying to get called a cheater when you're just better. Yeah. But she's leaned into it. And she's like, all right, I'm the best girl COD content creator, and these are my lobbies. I'm sorry, that pumpkin little boy energy is what, like, you're wanting to put off, but this is me. She leans into that. Now, does it kind of have the same template of some other COD creators? 100%. Totally does. But it's the attitude and the little cog turn that made it very different from a lot of, and that's the reason why I watch her content. She's hilarious. Like, she pisses off so many people just by being good at the game.
I genuinely didn't know who she was until like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Honest to God, because like I don't pay attention to Warzone all that much. Like, I'm an Apex player. I'm a Halo guy. Like, I play Sea of Thieves on the side just to like take a mental break from Apex. But like, I didn't know who she was until like 2-3 weeks ago, and I started watching some of her stuff, and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of funny. Like, and you know as well as I do, and I would hope that everyone else who happens to listen to this, who wants to hear my voice at this point, knows about content creation, that like, yeah, you can hit awesome trick shots and you can hit all this sort of stuff, but the thing that people really go after, the entertainment value, is in personality.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that is the one thing I find that I'm somewhat good at, is and I think that I attribute a lot of this stuff to my sales training. The training that I've had as a salesman for the past 8 years is recognizing and understanding people's personality types, not being able to say, like, to look at a chart or say that like this person's like a green blue or this person's like a D in a chart of S's. Like, there's so many there's so many different like charts and all that sort of stuff out there, but the important part behind all of that is recognizing, okay, this person, this type of creator is very loud and outspoken. This type of creator is a little more reserved, but you know, their personality shines when they get into this type of situation. And recognizing those types of people, I think, going back to your earlier point, is what makes working with somebody a lot easier. The faster you can recognize the personality type or how somebody like operates, the way much easier it is to adapt to that, to be able to continue working with them. Now, I recognize that not all personality types will work together very well. I totally know that. I'll be the first person to say it. But 100%. Like, if you jive with somebody and you can understand their personality and their workflows and just how they are, it makes it a whole lot easier to go against resistance, to go against an ego, to go against whatever
Yes.
it happens to be.
Yes.
And with the content type stuff, like that's, you have to inject your personality because that's what people like. And you need to get away. There's some carbon copying here and there, like with the Warzone loadout videos, like, whatever. But like, if I think of Warzone loadout videos, this is a good little exercise. Like if you think of Warzone loadout videos, who's the first person that comes to your mind? Who's the first creator that comes to your mind?
Lucci.
Lucci, okay.
Lucci or Sally is a dog. Like they were one of the first ones that I saw do it in a creative way.
Yeah. So it's very. I think that this kind of plays into that point a little bit. Is that the first person I think of is Stony Stark?
Yeah. Yep.
Because Stony Stark was doing loadout videos in like a completely different way. Now, I still recognize Lucci and Sally and Jordy and some of these other guys that were doing loadout videos. Like they're all doing them in their very unique way, and that's the point right there, right? They're doing them in their own unique way. They're injecting their personality into it. They're injecting like their own skills into that point, and this is a point that I hope everybody understands, is that like you have to have that personality and you have to do it differently. You can't expect to carbon copy something that somebody else is doing and expect it to work for you. In
Absolutely.
a very rare case, can you carbon copy somebody's ideas and it will work for you?
Well, and that was something also when I've literally had to think about what I want to do, because being I think it's also, you get such a hard place to be put, because like say I think I have more to bring to the table as a comedic, entertaining. It's not gameplay. I'll tell you that right now. I'm stuck at fucking Diamond 3 or Diamond 4 in Apex. So being a pro gamer is probably not in the stars for me. So, but that also, knowing that and us leaning into that, it's frustrating, because like, would I like to be a pro gamer? Absolutely. I don't have to worry about commentary. I don't have to worry about anything. But one of the things that I'm having to start to realize is like, I might just not be cut for competitive gaming. I probably just don't have it. Honestly, I just don't have the cojones to be chewed out so easily. And but that comes with it. That, like, I know that arena. And so with potentially a shift in type of content, you as well as that type of person have to shift with that content creator while maintaining their brand and who they are.
Yep.
And that's shit, bro. I couldn't find a harder job than being like, okay, well, everything that we've been doing is out the window. And we got to make sure it's still you. But you being, and it's just so interesting. That's why, like, you as a backbone, I feel like have a harder job as an editor, as a researcher, as a moderator, like everything that comes with what I know of you sooner. It's exhausting. Like, I can't imagine doing that. I struggle enough with my own brand and what I'm doing day to day. I cannot imagine what that must be like to do for someone. And that's where it's like, you got to, what we talked about in the beginning, you have to understand what your strengths are, honestly. And that's,
I agree.
I watched another TikToker. He was like, he was like, oh, I struggle to keep a view or whatever. And he was like, if you, tell me why I should watch you. Don't shit on yourself, but don't suck yourself off. Why should I watch you, and how are you different than everyone else? And that's why I've seen so many of my friends hop off content creation. They're like, I can't do it anymore. It's like, because they were a carbon copy during the easiest time for streaming ever.
Yep.
And guess what? It's gotten a lot harder. Everything's opening back up. Jobs are coming back to be available. No one's sitting at home anymore. I mean, like, not a ton of people. They had to go back to work. So to keep someone's attention or retention during, after the pandemic or whatever, what it was, is one, an achievement, a good feat, but then also the people who were already at the top just skyrocketed because their viewers came back to them.
Yep.
And
The number one question that I learned very early on in my professional career, the number one question that I ask anyone who I work with, and if I haven't asked that person, then I'm doing myself a disservice, to be honest with you. But like when I was put in a position, just for the background, I came out of higher education. Like my very first like full-time salaried position was in higher education, and I was working in technology. I was running a computer store and like working with IT departments on campuses and all that sort of stuff. And like the number one question that I was told to ask and taught to ask, and the mindset I was taught to adopt is just like the initial question is just, what do you want done? What do you want done? What do you want to do? If you want to sit there and you want to be a professional Apex player, okay, let's go through that scenario. How do you want to achieve that? How do you think you can achieve that? Okay, if you don't, what's your pivot? So you're starting at this singular point in the singular question of, what do you want done? Like, I want to further my brand. Okay, how do you want to do that? What is your brand? Tell me about you. You want to play games? Okay, what kind of games do you like to play? Okay, what sort of things do you enjoy talking about? And just going down that tree, that like family tree of ideas that you have around the question, what do you want done? That's kind of like your central point in my mind. And you can kind of slowly figure out, and A, get to learn somebody's personality, B, get to learn what they like, what they don't like. I like to think of myself not by any sort of accreditation, but like I like to think of myself as a teacher, right? So if I can dig into how to teach you to look at what you do better, then I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to offer my advice, whether you want to take it or not.
Right.
But if you can go down that path, then you can start to understand these people. You can start to understand people that you're working with, or even yourself. If you want to look in the mirror and ask yourself that, say like, hey, what do I want done? What do I want done out of all of this sort of stuff? Like, sure, everyone is going to be like, oh, well, I just want to be a big streamer and have a really good community and all of that sort of stuff. And but as a total side note, anyone who's just like, I'm here for the community. Okay. I understand you're probably here for the community, but this is going to be the little like pessimistic side of me that comes out. It's just like, yeah, everyone wants a fucking community. Everyone wants a community. And I understand that. And I don't diss anybody who says that.
Right.
But if that is your only go-to answer, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can believe you. Like I wanted a community at one point, and I slowly realized that my community is woven into everyone else's. And I know that there's some viewers that can support multiple streamers and all that sort of stuff, but like, I'm not going to try and build something. I don't think that I'm good at building something like that. I think I'm good at meshing with other people. That's just what it boils down to. So the whole like community thing is just like, don't give me that answer unless you have other substance behind it. But anyway, sorry, I got off track there.
No, you're good.
My one rage point.
Fuck you and your happiness. It's all a lie.
It's like, I want a community and I want a bond. It's like, okay, I'll actually believe that, but you have a brand that you want to build. And
it's
like,
true.
If you want to build a community, like there's other ways to do that other than content creation.
Right.
There's other ways to do that. Like if you want to be Hitch and matchmake people and build a community that way, like, yeah, that's a way to build a community.
Yeah.
Like, But that's not that I can guarantee that's not your only goal, and that shouldn't be your only goal, because you're in content creation for a reason.
Right.
What do you want done with that? We got to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah, and I think I love this conversation. Because it's not just what are you trying to do, how are you trying to be different? Because everyone's done the same thing. Hence the reason why Ludwig did the pull and twist. Yoink and twist, or whatever it's called. Take an idea that's already been done, put a little bit of twist on it, and that's it. Like, and like even to mention Halite, like people are calling him Ludwig 2.0, like Ludwig or like a proper Ludwig or something like that. Like people are going to be called a copycat for whatever, but it's how you want to implement it. Now, if you're just wanting friends, this is where I'll believe you if you have a full-time job and you're already financially taken care of and you just enjoy streaming. Those people exist. They're a strange group of people, but more power to you. The people who I don't believe are the people, and I know, and I've separated from some of these content creators. So I was once accused of emotionally manipulating my audience by because I would get choked up every time people would spend a lot of money on it. Did I do it for the money? Have I done it as a full-time job? 100%. Without the money, I wouldn't be doing it. I'm sorry.
I think I remember this,
yep.
actually. Yeah.
And some people, and after that, I was like, all right, I don't want to be accused of that anymore. And it messed with me mentally, because I was like, okay, there's got to be some form of like either bullshit or I'm actually doing this and I'm just gaslighting myself. But it would be so much because I've been given a lot. Like, I've been able to live off of this full time for a while. Like, I did a subathon and it was insane. Like, it was crazy. But after that, I took a step back and was like, okay, I don't want monetization to be the only type of content that I am. Like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to where like I'm a reactionary monetary, thing, like to where it's like I react out of the money given to me and it's whatever. But I've noticed people who actually do this, and this is what's hard about being a content creator, is because you don't want to manipulate. I don't want to manipulate my audience, and this is just me. I don't want to emotionally manipulate my audience to look at me as a charity case, but I want to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, provide good content that people actually want to watch, which you come in and help. But I have noticed there are a set of streamers who post their woes on Twitter, go live, make a shit ton of money because people feel sorry for them, and they've not in like a I pity you way. It's like I genuinely want to help, and then they go back to their normal content. And I've noticed this recently. Like, I've separated myself from a lot of content creators who've done that. And dude, I won't open up about it on the podcast, but like, personally, my year has been hell, and I have not once gone on there for a pity post, which I could totally do, 100%. And done that. And I think this is where there's got to be a set bit, like a bit of responsibility on your side as a content creator, not to manipulate your audience. And I think with the content creators that you've sided yourself with, they've been very much like, I'm going to just create good content. I'm going to create meaningful content, whether it be funny, entertaining, educational, or doing that. And I think there's a scary side of siding yourself with those content creators, with the other side of content creators, because one, they can be emotionally manipulating to other content creators or to you. And I think it's interesting that you've been able to find a set group of people who aren't doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it's their audience and their content is very clear cut. You know what they're about. You know what they're for. And I think you just have a ton of foresight, like for that. Like, you are able to look at it, and it's just nuts. Like,
I think that a lot of that will boil down to the creator's willingness to take the criticism. Like, and being called out on their bullshit, for lack of a better phrase, right? Like, if let's say you were to do something like that, where you were to just like immediately just throw all of your shit on the table, that whether you are dealing with it, whether you're stretching the truth, whether you're trying to play the victim or whatever. And I'm not trying to say that anyone else in particular has done this. I'm formulating an example, right? If I look at that and I know that you're stretching the truth, or I know that it's a little offhand for you or in your brand or whatever, like, there's a difference between like, trying to play the emotional card for advantage and trying to be open and honest about actual life experiences that have affected you in a certain way, right? And I would say, like, my advice is, like, I'm not somebody who puts a lot of that stuff out on social media. I don't think that it's necessarily a place for it. Like, for me, if I have a negative experience or there's something that is affecting me, I may say, like, hey, it's been a rough day, or hey, something hasn't gone my way, but like, I need to take a moment to take care of myself or whatever. Like, that sort of thing's okay. But if, like, you're going to go out there and specifically list all of these things and then do it repetitively and then expect people to just come in and like donate because they feel sorry for you, like, if I call you out on that, like, you need to be willing to take an actual look at it and say, okay, maybe you're right, or
Absolutely.
okay, I see what you're saying. You know, have a conversation about it and not get defensive,
Yep.
right? Like, not me call you out for putting something stupid out there and you just being like, but you know, this is what I experienced, and if you don't believe me, blah 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 blah. It's like, no, it's not to say that I don't believe you. It's to say that, like, you know, if you're trying to put this energy out there and you like this is just like, it's different, it's not the right energy, or it's not the same energy that you in particular have had in the past, and this is what I see it potentially doing, or this is the kind of, like, I don't want to say like backlash, but this is the reaction that could come from it, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think with that sort of stuff, people just need to be careful, in my opinion. You know, there is a line, it's a gray line, it's not the finest line, but there is a line somewhere between like being open about experiences and like willingly wanting to throw shit on the table to try and get attention from it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Man, we talked about a shit ton, bro.
Dug into it, man.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about everything. I was curious if you have any tips or advice for anyone who's wanting to do this and be what you have been, and because I know that you are a necessity for creators, and I know that you have been a great asset to a lot of people. So I was curious how, like, what would be your advice for that? Like, what would be, you know?
Man, that's it's kind of a tough one. I mean, I think I've said some of the stuff that I would advise people on already. You know, but my biggest thing is just like, you know, be honest with yourself and be open with yourself to understand like when something isn't working and how you can shift very quickly, how you can, the corporate term is pivot, how you can pivot very quickly to changing your approach to something, right? What's the whole thing, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice expecting different results. Like if you're doing the same thing repetitively and over and over and over again and something's not coming from it, like, yeah, there's creators out there that'll say like, oh, like the consistency is what you need, and I've even said that before too, right? Yeah, like you need to build a little consistency in your content and all that sort of stuff, and then hope that something pops or put the energy in the right place. Like all of that holds true. But there is a breaking point in my mind, and it's different with everybody. There's a breaking point that you need to be open and honest with yourself to say, this isn't working, but I know that I'm good at this. Here's how I can help people. Here's how I could better myself, or here's how I could help, you know, a certain set of people out, or what have you. Again, not everyone's going to be a content creator. Not everyone's going to be a good content creator. And that sucks for some people to hear. And there's probably some people out there that you could tell them, hey, you're really good at, I don't know, Discord, for example, because I'm looking at Discord right now. You're really good at, you know, using a camera. You're really good at programming stream elements. You know, there's some people that will have too big of an ego to listen to that, and those people will fall off very quickly. And that's a sad thing to say, to be honest with you, but it's a very true thing to say. And so, you know, all of that, I come back to the point where it's like, be honest and open with yourself about what you're good at, and play into those strengths and see where you can help people. See where you can help your friends. See where you can help like people that are in your community or in your corner, or whatever. The side thought to that, I think you did this with somebody else on a different podcast, or on a stream or something. I can't remember, but I feel like I was listening to you in another episode of Leave the Light On, where it was, some people are worried about the word failure. And there's probably some people that would look at me and say, oh, Chris, you streamed for a little bit and you did TikTok and you did all these videos and it was kind of entertaining, but you failed because you didn't keep going. And if you want to have that opinion of me, that's totally fine. You know, that is something I had to get over, because I had that for a little bit where it's like, ah, shit, I failed. Like I failed at being a content creator. I failed at being a streamer. I failed at being an entertainer. But, you know, eventually you overcome that to say, no, I didn't fail. I know in the back of my head why I did everything. Again, I did everything in content that I've done so far with my own personal stuff to be an experiment, to learn those skills so that I could translate them to help other people. Like to know where to upload things, how to upload things, how to edit things, how to do X, Y, and Z on Twitch or on YouTube or on OBS or whatever, right? Like, I think that it's not a failure by any stretch of the imagination. It's you're learning and adapting to what you personally are good at. And the impact that you can make on the community as a whole, whether that is the community or that's someone else individually or that's a team or that's whatever. So yeah, that's the way that I would put it. I would say just be open and honest with yourself about what you're good at. Understand your strengths, play into that, and just know that, like, if you come to the realization that streaming isn't your thing, but you're really good at something else that has to do with streaming, you didn't fail at all. I would be the first person to tell you that. You did not fail whatsoever. You realize that your time is better spent in a different manner that still supports somebody else, that still helps somebody else, that still grows something at the end of the day. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say.
I like that. I like that a lot. I agree with that.
Thanks. I try.
Well, dude, I think this has been an amazing podcast, and I'm glad we waited. As annoying as it was, I'm glad that we were able to go through this. I think especially
I had to have one more conversation with you about, no, let's do it next week. No, let's do it this week. Let's do it next month.
Yep. Yeah. I get that. But
and honestly, what I think is interesting too about, like, not only your podcast, but I feel like our conversation is that, like, we could have the same exact conversation or we could have the same exact setup in another 4 to 6 months and have a totally different conversation about it.
Oh yeah.
Just because of how fast things evolve and how fast things change and how people adapt and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think the conversation would be totally different if we waited like another 3 to 6 months to do this again. Absolutely. If you wanted to do this, I'm not trying to like invite myself back on your podcast. You know, everyone listening's probably like, don't have this fucker back on ever again.
It doesn't matter what they think. I will have whoever I want on. I've had so many people that were like, I think it'd be a great addition. I was like, would you? Do you think that?
No,
because I don't.
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, for real. But no, man. I think that was a ton of great insight, especially for people who are wanting to do stuff like what you do, but doing it in the right manner. And that's like what I will understand with, man. I think it's amazing that you're able to do with that, and I'm pumped about it. But with that being said, where can people find you? Like, how do you want to be seen? Plug all your socials.
Oh man,
like, do all that things.
It's Sooner Creative on just about every social. I keep my TikTok page open, and to still get traffic through there. I think it's all Sooner Creative, like, I'll put together one word, but I think my Twitter has an underscore. I'm gonna check it right now. Yeah, my Twitter has an underscore after it because somebody else took Sooner Creative. So if for anybody who wants to connect with me and whatnot, just look up Sooner Creative or whatever. I will say that I do my best to try and be an open person and respond to people, respond to questions, respond to whatever. There's sometimes I don't do it necessarily on time, or I lag behind a little bit. It may take me a couple days to get back to somebody because honestly, I'll forget sometimes. But if anybody ever has any questions or wants advice or wants help or just wants my perspective, like, I'm open to that. Shoot me a DM and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Oh yeah, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on the pod, and I appreciate you doing the call, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next 6 months, man. I'm pumped to see what goes on.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate having me on and putting me up with the some of the other awesome creators that you've had on this. Honored to be on that list now, and we'll look forward to. I know you and I will talk more and whatnot, but yeah, look forward to doing this again down the road.
Oh yeah, buddy. I appreciate you, man. All right. Well, that was Sooner. Guys, make sure to go follow him on all of his socials and just to learn from him, man. I mean, the guy is a hard worker. There's a reason why he's going to be growing and grown as much as he has, and I think we can all learn from what he's offered to the table. But guys, if you like the podcast, make sure you like, comment, subscribe on the video. And if you're an Audible listener, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Share this with someone who you think has the ability to go far and just needs that little bit of a push. You guys are awesome. And thank you so much. Talk to y'all soon. Goodbye.